Hey everyone, Zach here, and welcome to the sixth lesson in this series, an introduction to Unreal Engine. In this video, we will set up our traps. Make sure to look at the description for a copy of the project up to this point on GitHub. Also, make sure to look at the reading related to the content we'll use in this video. That said, fire up the editor, open your project, and let's get started. Alright, so when you load into the editor, you should load into your level 01 map. So here we are, and we're going to go from here into our level 03 map, 02 map. I misspoke in the last tutorial. We aren't going to do level 03 yet. We have a few more things to add into level 02. So open up level 02, and we have our obstacle there, which, kind of blocks us if it's at the right time. We are going to add in one more platform. We're going to add some more platforms in, but what we're going to do is something a little bit different. We're going to create a drop platform that is going to fall when the user steps onto it. So to do so, we're going to go into our blueprints. So we're going to add in a new triggering event. So we're going to go into our triggers. We're going to right click blueprint class, and it will be of class actor. And I'm going to name this BP underscore drop trap. So what this trap is when the user steps onto it, it's going to drop the platform down so they fall with it. And the way we're going to handle that is we are going to, open this up. We're going to pin this into here. And we're going to replace the default scene root, but we're going to replace it with something new this time again. So hit add component and type in billboard. And select that first one, billboard. And you see you have a nice little raptor skull, I think. This is just going to be visible in the editor, this little skull. All this is a marker so you know where something is. I'm just going to drag this over the default scene root and compile so we get rid of this default scene root as usual. Now we're going to add in a collision point to this. So we're going to do box collision as usual. And we're going to name this trigger. And we're going to resize this a little bit. So instead of resizing it in the scale, we're going to resize the box extent. We're going to leave it as 3232, but this last 32 we're going to change to 5. And then we're going to go to left or right view, doesn't matter which. We're just going to make sure that the bottom of this box, this bottom of this collision point, is on that red line. Well, if I move it up, I can't get it to that red line. As I said, we can change our snap point on this grid. So let's go to this grid, go where it says 10 and change it to 5, and then just drag it up 1. Alright, there we go. Now we need to give this collision point an event. So what we're going to do is very similar to what we did before. We're going to scroll down on this panel, and we're going to choose on component begin overlap. So click it, go to your event graph, and in here, we need to get rid of our event actor begin overlap and our event tick. So we're going to delete both of those. The next thing we need to do is we need to create a reference to our character. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to right click down here. So let me just zoom in a little bit. We're going to right click down here and type in get player pawn. So whenever you cast, you need something that you're referencing to. So we're going to reference to this object, this player pawn. And we're going to drag off of here, and we're going to type in cast to third person character. And then we're going to plug this execute pin into our event begin play. So now we're casting to this. And casting can be used for many things. It can be used to get references to variables inside inside whatever blueprint you're casting to. It can be used for converting one blueprint to another in terms of what it can do. It can be used for communication. Right now we're going to really be using it for communication. Casting is an extremely complex topic, and we won't go into the full depth of what casting can do just because we're only using it for a small little function here. It's a little redundant, small little. Alright, so as a third person character, what we want to do is we want to create a reference to this. So as this character, we want to create a reference to itself. So what we're going to do is we're going to drag off of here and promote to variable. And this is going to be player ref, again, for references. And again, I want this to be a little bit organized. So I'm going to highlight my player ref here, and in my categories, I'm just going to change this to reference. And as a rule of thumb, when you're working on new projects, always put in stuff for debugging. So I'm going to right click under my player reference and type in print. And then I have this print string. And where it says hello, I'm going to change it to failed to cast. And off this cast failed, I'm going to plug the execute in. So if this doesn't work, I'm going to see on the screen failed to cast. Next, what I need to do is I need to set my trap location. And the way I'm going to do that is I need to create a new variable first that will be called trap. And trap is going to be an actor. So variable type, highlight that, and type in the word actor. And you'll notice we have a whole bunch of choices here. Well, we're going to go to object types, and then we want this first one, this actor. We're just going to select that. And we want to set our actor inside the editor. So we're going to expose it, and we're going to make it so we can change it. And then we're going to put a tooltip in. This is the platform that will fall. And I'm going to put a category name of target. So this is what we're targeting to fall. Alright, so we're going to drag this onto our event graph. We're going to get it. And then we want to get the root component of it. Because it might have multiple parts if we use our platform. It might have one part if we use something else. And then I want to get that location. So get world location. Alright, I'm going to take these and I'm going to pull off this return value and I'm going to promote to variable. And that variable is going to be called trap. Sorry, trap location. And I'm just going to plug that into there. And this is part of the target. So I'm just going to move this into my target category. And I'm just going to line these up so it's a bit easier to see where the pins are going. Alright, so I'm going to have more off the event begin play, but I can't make those parts yet because I don't have references to the variables I need yet. So instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down to my on component begin overlap. And I want to make sure what's overlapping the object is indeed the player. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag off other actor. So the other actor is what's overlapping with it. And I'm going to put in an equal sign. I want to know if this object is equal to another object. And I want to know if it's equal to my player. So I have a reference to my player. So I can just drag that in and plug that into there. So is the other actor, is what's overlapping this box equal to the player? If it is, then I want it to do something. So off this return bool value, off this true false, I want a branch. Now, I'm not going to plug this directly into the execute pin just yet. In fact, I'm going to create one more variable. I'm just going to drag this down for a second. I want to have a delay. So I'm going to drag off this execute and type in delay. And I'm going to plug the delay into, so the completed, into the branch. So if it is, if it will delay when something crosses over it, once the delay is done, it's going to check, is it the player? I could do this in reverse. I could check if it's the player first and then do the delay. I'm going to put a reroute in here just so it's a little bit nicer and neater looking. Again, the reroutes don't do anything but make it easier to read. Now, I want to make a value. So this is a float value, this light green. I want to make a value that can be changed by developers outside of this window and can be set per instance of a trap. So some traps might have a longer delay, some might have a shorter delay. So I'm going to drag off this duration and I'm going to promote to variable and I'm going to type in the word delay. And I'm going to put this in a new category called trap settings. And I'm going to compile. And I'm going to set the default value to half a second, which is actually a fairly long time. And I'm going to make it again so exposed, and so I can edit outside the blueprint. There we go. So now when a person steps onto the trap, or an actor steps onto the trap, it checks for it waits half a second, then it checks, is it the player? If it is the player, then I want the trap to fall. I want the target platform to fall. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag off this true, and I'm going to type in the word timeline. And we have add timeline at the bottom. I'm going to select that one. And now I'm going to name this timeline trap timeline. So there are a lot of pins in here. We're not going to worry about too many of them. The only ones we're going to care about is this play. So what does it do at when we hit it, and the update, and then there's going to be another pin we're going to create. So to create this new pin, this will be what the movement of our trap does. We're going to double click this trap timeline, and it's going to open up this new gray window. And we're going to create a new function in here. To create a new function, just click this F+ sign here, and you get this new graph. So somewhere on the left, right click and add key point, and then somewhere on the right, right click and add key point. So we're going to change one small thing before we go any further. On length, we want this to happen in the span of 1 second. So I'm going to type in 1 to replace that 5. And you notice that this key point is outside of our light gray area. So this light gray area is 0 to 1 second. But that's fine. We'll change that in a second. Select the key point on the left. And we're going to set the time value to 0. And we're going to set the value of it to 0 as well. So this is the sort of null point. This is what's happened. This is where it should be when nothing has happened yet. Select the point on the right and change each value to 1. So time to 1 and value to 1. Now, it doesn't look like much is happening because the graph is zoomed weirdly. So what we're going to do is we're going to select this zoom to fit horizontal and this zoom to fit vertical. So in the span of 1 second, it's going to execute whatever we tell it to do, and it's going to happen fairly steadily. So compile, save real quick, go to your event graph again, and what we're going to have happen here, actually I lied to you, go back to your timeline. So where it says new track, right click it and rename it, and we're going to rename this trap movement. There we go. Now go back to your event graph, and you notice we have this new pin called trap movement. So this is the duration of its fall. So at 0, it's going to be wherever we place it. Once we step on it, half a second later, it checks over the player. It then fires this off, and for 1 second, it's going to go from where it's at to where we're telling it to go. So the greater of a distance we're telling it to drop, the faster it has to move. And when it updates, what it's going to do is it's going to update the location of our trap. So off update, we want to set actor location. Again, we just want the pure set actor location in the middle there. And the target this time isn't self. We're not moving the triggering point. We are moving the trap. So grab your trap, get it, and plug it into the target. So the new location, this is going to be a bit weird. So we have our trap location. So we're going to get that. And then we are going to break off of this, and we are going to do break vector. So break vector turns this 3 float into the individual 3 floats for the x-axis, y-axis, and z-axis. I'm going to bring this down here, and I'm going to put a reroute in here. I'm going to show you something else you can do with reroutes in 1 second. Kind of already seen it with our if-then statement in the last episode, but it's going to be a little bit more obvious than this. Now, I want this to drop, so I only care about this z value. I don't want the x and y to change. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag off this x and do make vector. And so we aren't changing the x. We're just passing the x value from the original trap location into this new vector. We're going to do the same for y. It's this z value that's going to change. Now again, I could put something in here as a raw value, and that would actually work perfectly fine in this case. But like I said, we can use this to make some traps harder and some easier. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag off of here, and I'm going to promote to variable. And this is going to be trap fall location. And I'm going to put this under my trap settings. And I'm going to, again, make this so I can change it outside the editor and expose it. And I'm going to set the default value to negative, so it's falling downwards, 5,000. All right, I'm just going to move this back a little bit so I have a little bit more room to play with. So this is where it's going to fall. I can just plug that into there, but I want it to fall smoothly. If I just plug it into there, it's going to fall right away. So I want it to fall in motion with this timeline. So to do that, I'm going to combine this value with this trap movement value, with this timeline. So to do so, I'm going to get this trap location, which is its starting location. And I'm going to do what's known as interpolation. So I'm going to lerp. So I'm going to lerp the vector. So I'm going from this start location, so where the trap initially is, to this location of negative 5,000 on the z-axis. And I want to move at the speed set by this timeline. So that's my alpha there. So what's happening is it comes in, it goes, all right, it needs to fall, or it needs to move. It needs to move from this location to this location at the alpha rate, which we've set in this timeline. I'm then going to plug the return value into my new location. So it's going to fall in a second 5,000 units from wherever it's currently at. Actually, it's not going to fall 5,000 units from where it's currently at. This is not relative. So if I have the object at minus 4,000 x, or sorry, 4,000 z, it's only going to fall 1,000 units. If it's at 0, then it's going to fall 5,000 units. All right, so that actually takes care of the timeline, but we still have the stuff on the event begin play that I said we didn't have references to earlier. So maybe we want this play rate to be faster. Maybe we want it to be slower. So what we're going to do is we are going to, again, make a variable set that we can change. So we can change how fast this happens. To do that, take your trap timeline from your components, drag it onto your event graph, and off of this, you're going to want to do set play rate. There we go. And we're going to plug the set play rate into there. And off the new rate, you're going to drag off of this, and you are going to set this to promote variable, and this will be our play speed. And we're going to make it so we can change it outside the editor and expose it. And this again will be a trap setting. We'll leave it at a second. Next, what we're going to do is going to change it so the delay can either exist or not exist as needed. So to do this, we're going to create a new value, and this will be called b. You don't have to put the b in. This is just an old C++ habit, but if you do, it should be a lowercase b, because b stands for Boolean, has delay. As I said, this is going to be a Boolean, so under variable type, select Boolean. Drag this onto the event graph, get the get b has delay. You'll notice the b gets removed because it's just a naming convention that is fairly standard in C++, and Unreal knows that it has no real meaning. And then drag in a branch from the set play rate. Plug the has delay in there. Now we're going to compile real quick. And on the has delay, set the default to true. Compile, save again. And then drag your delay in, get it. Sorry, not get it. Set it. We want to get the delay, we want to set it. And then we want to duplicate it. So we're going to plug in the duplicate into the one of them into the false and one into the true. Actually, I'm just going to move them down that way. There we go. Put a reroute into the false, just because I like it that way. And in the true, what we're going to do is we're going to take our delay and just plug it right into there. So we can either turn off the delay, so it just defaults to 0, or we can set the delay to some value. Now, all fairness, we could just actually get rid of this entire branch because the delay is exposed, and we could change the delay in the editor to 0. I just like having multiple options. So compile, save. Now we need to set our trap up in the game. So what we're going to do is we're going to open up our level 2 map again, and I'm going to take this platform and I'm just going to drag it out. I'm going to reduce the size of it down to 5, just so it's a smaller one. And I'm just going to drag it a little bit further out. And I'm going to put another one of these in the middle there. And I'm going to make this one 2.5, so it's smaller. I'm going to just bring them a bit closer so it's easier to jump off one onto the other. And what I'm now going to do is I'm going to take my drop trap. I'm going to set it on top of this one. I'm going to go to my top view real quick. And it's all the way over here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit R, and I'm just going to scale it so it's about the same size as the actual platform. I am then going to go back to my perspective view, and I'm just going to raise it up a tiny bit. There we go. Now, nothing's going to happen. If I hit play and I get here, I'm just going to walk on the trap. It's not going to do anything because it doesn't know what platform needs to fall yet. So remember, we set a target trap, and right now here in our details, it has no value. We can hit the drop down, and there's a lot of traps. There's a lot of platforms or a lot of objects in here it could be, but we want it to be a very particular one. We want it to be the one it's resting on top of. So selecting our trap again, I'm going to hit this eyedropper, and there, if I highlight or hover over the platform, I can select that platform. And now that platform is going to fall. So I'm going to go over here, select the platform before the drop trap, and hit play from here. I'm going to jump onto this platform, and there it falls. It took a little bit for it to fall, so it was moving rather slowly. Let's decrease the delay and see how that looks instead. So we have our play speed, we have our delay. I'm going to change our delay to 0.2, and then I'll play from here again. So play from here, move on to there, and it falls pretty quickly. And I fell with it because I wasn't jumping. And it restarted the level, so forgot about that. Let's go back here and do play from, sorry, that's the wrong platform. Do play from here. I'm gonna jump on, ooh, I overjumped it. Well, then jump onto it and then jump off of it fairly quickly. These are a little bit close together, so it's a bit easy. Now, it might not be fair to the player. These platforms look the same, so maybe you want to, hint at the player that this platform is doing something different. So I'm going to select this platform, and I'm going to go to the platform inherited. And in here, under elements, under materials, that is, I'm going to change the cube material to my basic wall so that it's white. And I'm going to hit play from here on the other platform, and now I have this thing that looks different. And so it's a little bit of a warning that something is different there. I almost overjumped the other platform. Now that that's done, we have completed everything we need to start creating a proper platforming level. That said, we're going to, in the next video, put everything we've learned together and make a level. And I'd recommend joining the Discord community and trying out your levels with other people, seeing what they think, getting some feedback on the material, and, ooh, I overjumped that, and trying out different things. That said, I hope you've enjoyed this video, and if you have, drop a like down below. It helps get this tutorial out there to people who might not know about this series. Also, if you want to see anything in particular, let me know down in the comments below, and I'll see if I can add in later videos for us to use and other things for us to do with this material. Ooh, I bounced off the other thing. And, as always, I hope to see you in the next tutorial, and I hope that you have a wonderful day.